When you hear a sound, you are actually experiencing the aftermath of a physical collision. A sudden, violent impact displaces the air, sending waves of energy rippling outward until they reach your ear. In our physical environment, every noise is a reaction. You need objects to strike, scrape, or push against one another to create that initial vibration. But this rule presents a curious problem. If you trace existence all the way back, or look out into the absolute vacuum of deep space, you encounter a paradox. What produces a sound when there is nothing around to strike? We live our entire lives surrounded by the loud impacts of physical objects. Because of that constant acoustic traffic, we are almost entirely deaf to the silent, continuous background radiation of existence itself. Think of your daily attention like a radio that has been left on for years. You are permanently tuned to the loud stations of the external world, conversations, traffic, the endless hum of appliances. Yet, if you sit in a quiet room and the volume of that outer world fades, you might notice something else, a faint, high-pitched ringing. Most people dismiss this as a minor biological glitch, or maybe the electrical buzz of the lights. Ancient traditions recognize this high-pitched ringing as the initial signal of the Anhad Naad, the primordial, unstruck melody of the universe. This comparative visualization shows the difference. On the left, we see a standard physical sound wave. It spikes violently upon impact, and then inevitably decays into nothing. On the right is the Anhad Naad, a smooth, infinite, continuous waveform that is completely self-sustaining. That persistent ringing in your quietest moments is a biological invitation, gently calling your consciousness to turn away from the external noise and begin looking inward. If you ask a modern physicist what reality is made of, they describe the entire cosmos as oscillating fields of energy and continuous vibration. Thousands of years before the invention of the electron microscope, mystics mapped this exact same reality. They didn't build particle accelerators. They sat in deep meditation and meticulously observed the internal landscape of the human mind. Across vastly different eras and cultures, this vibration was given many names. The Vedic sages called it the nada. In early Christianity, it was the logos, or the word. Buddhist texts refer to it as the sound of silence. Despite being separated by oceans and centuries, their descriptions match perfectly. They all documented a continuous internal river of sound that exists entirely independent of the physical ear. This consensus identifies the universe as a living, universal frequency, a current that any human being can learn to access. Which brings up a purely mechanical question. How do you actually listen to a sound if you aren't using your physical ears? The method is known as dying while living. It requires the intentional withdrawal of your attention from the physical world. You pull your awareness away from the eyes, the ears, and the rest of the sensory gates that constantly leak your energy outward. Instead of scattering that focus, you concentrate it at a single point. Practitioners gather their withdrawn consciousness at what is called the 10th gate, the space located just behind and between the eyebrows. Progress here requires a state of effortless surrender, allowing the internal sound to act as a powerful magnet that pulls your awareness up. This frequency chart maps the ascent of consciousness. At the bottom, sound manifests as rapid waveforms, like chirping crickets. As attention rises, frequencies evolve into an inner orchestra, expanding into temple bells, a flute, and sweeping waves of thunder. As these vibrations become more intense, the practitioner realizes the sound originates from the exact center of their own awareness. If you follow that current to its peak, the diverse instruments of the inner orchestra begin to unify. The complex layers of sound merge into a single, absolute vibration. Then, the vibration itself dissolves. The practitioner enters the soundless state, an infinite, pure stillness, where the noise of creation gives way to absolute calm. In this quiet, the psychology of the listener changes. The hard boundary between the person hearing the sound and the sound itself vanishes. Daily anxieties, attachments, and the rigid sense of individual ego cannot survive in this vastness. They simply dissolve into the stillness. Experiencing this state confirms a truth that the mystics have taught for millennia. The current of consciousness flowing inside you is the exact same current sustaining the entire universe. The divine is accessible without a remote mountaintop or a distant temple. The cosmic symphony is already humming inside your own body, right now, quietly waiting beneath the frantic noise of your daily life. All you have to do is shift your attention. Stop looking outward and just listen.